Welcome to the Think CSEC channel. Today, we'll be answering the CSEC Office Administration June 2019 past paper 1 questions. Let's get right in. Okay, here we go. So the first question says, which of the following services is a function performed by the general office? A. Delivering goods. B. Manufacturing goods. C. Producing information. D. Designing new products. Our answer is C. Producing information. Let's move on to question number 2. Employees in a large organization are most likely to have A. Very close supervision. B. Limited career prospects. C. A high degree of specialization. Or D. Direct contact with management. So our answer is C. A high degree of specialization. Let's move on to question number 3. An application for the position of dispatch clerk was addressed to a company. To whom should the mail clerk forward this application? A. Shipping supervisor. B. Marketing manager. C. Administrative officer. Or D. Human resource manager. And it is quite obvious that the answer would be D. Human resource manager. Let's move on to question number 4. In which of the following situations would the relationship between employees be described as vertical? A. One is senior to the other. B. Each has a similar status in the firm. C. One job is more important than the other. Or D. One has been employed longer than the other. It's quite obvious. The answer is A. One is senior to the other, the line of authority. So let's move on to question number 5. The term span of control refers to the A. Manager's influence, right, or power to perform a particular task. B. System of grading management and subordinates on different levels. C. Lines of communication between the manager and his or her subordinates. Or D. Maximum number of subordinates the manager can supervise efficiently. Obviously, we know that the span of control refers to the maximum number of subordinates the manager can supervise efficiently. So the answer is D. So let's move on to question number 6. You are a clerk in a small organization and you are accountable to your supervisor, who is the secretary. You feel that some improvements can be made in the filing system. Which of the following would be the most, that's the important word in all caps, appropriate step for you to take? A. Discuss your idea with a colleague. B. Discuss your ideas with the secretary. C. Make the changes you feel are necessary. Or D. Continue with the old system until you are asked for an opinion. Obviously, you would have to speak to the secretary. So B, you would have to discuss your ideas with the secretary. So that would be your answer. Let's move on to question number 7. The major difference between an operator-assisted call and a direct call is A, the timing of the call. B, the additional fee charged. C, having to pay immediately. Or D, monitoring by the operator. So the word major in all caps, the biggest difference. So it is obvious that the answer would be D, monitoring by the operator, right? That's the difference. Let's move on to question number 8. A caller to a business asked to speak to a manager only. What type of call should the operator make? A. House. B. Personal. C. Conference. Or D. Person to person. So a person called to speak to a manager. So it would have to be person to person. So the answer would be D. Let's move on to question number 9. A small package containing important documents is to be mailed to Canada from a Caribbean island. Which of the following postal services would be most suitable? A. Parcel post. B. Recorded mail. C. Registered mail. Or D. First class mail. It would be quite obvious that it's an important document. It would be C. Registered mail. When you register it, you have a tracking number, and so they are accountable for that package, so to speak. So it would have to be registered. Let's move on to question number 10. In an office where large quantities of printed materials have to be cut to size, it would be most useful to have access to A. Guillotine, B. Letter opener, C. Sharp-edged knife, or D. Large pair of scissors. We know all the others except A could not be used because it's a large amount of materials that you are printing. So it would have to be A. Guillotine that will be able to cut such large quantities. Let's move on to question number 11. Which of the following is not, that's a keyword, not an example of a fringe benefit? A. Training opportunity. B. Holiday arrangement. C. Use of company vehicle. Or D. Promotional opportunity. So the keyword not. So training opportunity, holiday arrangement, and use of company vehicle. Those are some fringe benefits. So the one that is not an example would be D, which is promotional opportunity. So your answer would be D. Let's move on to question number 12. Which of the following services would usually be offered to customers who have fixed deposit accounts at a commercial bank? 1. Permission to write checks on the accounts. 2. Withdrawals on demand with interest earned. 3. Higher interest rate than that offered on savings account. So we know it's not 1, it's not 2, because we know once it's a fixed deposit, we know it's a fixed interest rate. It's a higher interest rate other than a saving account. So the answer would be B, which is 3 only, higher interest rate than that offered on savings accounts. So your answer would be B. Let's move on to question number 13. All right, so question number 13 refers to the following diagram. So here we have this diagram. It tells us it's a telephone message form. It tells us who it's to. It tells us who it is from. It gives the name of the organization, the phone number. It includes a message, and it tells us who it is the message is coming from. So let's get into question number 13. So it says the person who received the phone call and recorded the message is A. J. Ben, B. R. Smith, C. M. Santos, or D. W. Daniel. So right away at the ending of the message, we see that it's from W. Daniel. That's the person who received the phone call. It's the message is from. Sorry, the person who received the phone call. That's their initial at the end of it. All right. Let's move on to question number 14. Which of the following guidelines should be followed by the interviewee during a job interview? 1. Be pleasant and alert. 2. Be confident when answering questions. Or 3. Maintaining minimal eye contact with the interviewer. So once you are going on an interview, it is very important that you be pleasant and alert and be confident when answering questions. So the answer would be B, 1 and 2 only. Let's move on to question number 15. Which of the following is not always a requirement of a letter of application? A, it should be typed. B, the grammar used should be correct. C, it should request an opportunity for an interview. Or D, it should indicate the position for which the person is applying, right? The keyword is not a requirement. So we know that a letter of application is not always required that it should be typed. But all the others are very, very important. The grammar, it should request an opportunity for an interview, and it should indicate the position. All of those things should be included in a letter of application. So the one that is not always required is A, it should be typed. So let's move on to question number 16. It is now 3 months since a graduate applied for a job at a large firm. The graduate received only a letter of acknowledgement. What action should the graduate take to indicate that he or she is still interested in the job? A, write another letter of application. B, write a letter to follow up on the application. C, telephone a friend who works with the firm. Or D, visit the company and ask to see the human resource manager. We know it is very, very important that you have a follow-up letter because you had already written an application. So you want to write a follow-up letter to let them know, the company know that you're still interested in the job. So B, that would be your answer. Let's move on to question number 17. Which of the following employees is responsible for receiving and relaying messages and making appointments? A, receptionist. B, office hostess. C, office messenger. Or D, company secretary. It is quite obvious that the answer would be A, the receptionist. Let's move on to question number 18. Which of the following would be most suitable for storing inactive soft copies of files? A, storage box. B, accordion folder. C, suspension folder. Or D, external hard drive. It is quite obvious that inactive files go in the external hard drive so that possibly later, if there is a need for it, then you can use it. You can retrieve it. Let's move on to question number 19. What should a clerk do if the number of items being delivered is less than that shown on the delivery note? A, reprimand the delivery agent and refuse to accept the delivery. B, return the goods and ask for urgent delivery of the correct order. C, accept the delivery and ask the company to send the outstanding items. D, write the shortage on the delivery note before signing for receipt of the goods. The answer is quite obvious. D, you're going to write the shortage on the delivery note before you actually sign the receipt of the goods so that they will be aware that you did not receive your full order. Let's move on to question number 20. A large office space with many employees working in the same area is referred to as A. Cellular, B. Enclosed, C. Extended, D. Open plan. We know once it's a large office with many employees working in the same area, it is an open plan. Let's move on to question number 21. The term cross-referencing refers to documents that are filed A as misplaced, B as or C under the same heading, or D under different headings. We know it would be D under different headings. Let's move on to question number 22. Which of the following systems will a receptionist use to record information about visitors to a firm? A. Call card, B. Personal diary, C. Reception register, or D. Schedule of activities. We know right away it would be C. Reception register. Let's move on to question number 23. Credit cards are used instead of cash when traveling abroad because they A. have a greater value than cash, B. offer greater security than cash, C. are preferred to cash in foreign countries, or D. give the traveler a high status rating in the foreign country. Well, we know the answer is B, offer greater security than cash. Nowadays, people are afraid that they will get robbed, so persons no longer walk around with cash. They just use their debit cards or their credit cards for safety reasons. So the answer would be B. Let's move on to 24. Files which are no longer in use and placed in storage are referred to as A. stored, B. indexed, C. archived, or D. reserved. We know that is C. archived. Let's move on to question number 25. You are a receptionist and your employer has asked you to cancel his appointment with an important client. What is the most suitable action to take? A. Cancel the old appointment date and time in the employee's diary. B. Contact the client or apologize and inform him or her that the appointment has been cancelled. C. Arrange a new appointment and inform the client of the change. Or D. Write a letter to the client advising him or her of the cancellation. So we know the answer would be B. Contact the client, apologize, and inform him or her that the appointment has been cancelled. So let's move on to question number 26. All right, here we go. At the annual general meeting of Verona Enterprises, an equal number of votes were cast for and against a motion. What action should the chairperson take to break the tie? A. Exercise the casting vote. B. Ask the members to vote again. C. Adjourn the meeting to another date. Or D. Ask the members to ratify the motion. Our answer would be A. Exercise the casting vote. So let's move on to question number 27. In a meeting, the role of a proxy is to A. Represent the agenda, B. Put forward motions, C. Act on behalf of an absent member, or D. Collect votes from all in attendance. We know the role of the proxy is to act on behalf of an absent member. So the answer would be C. Let's move on to question number 28. Which of the following terms is used to describe a committee which has been set up to deal with a specific matter? Central, B, ad hoc, C, general, or D, administrative. And we know our answer would be B, ad hoc. Let's move on to question number 29. Within a meeting context, a proposal that action be taken is known as A, a motion, B, an agenda, C, a casting vote, or D, an amendment. We know that our answer would be A, a motion. Let's move on to question number 30. The chairperson's role in a meeting is to 1. Control the discussions and guide members. 2. Make notes of the discussion as it takes place. 3. Ensure all members are given an opportunity to speak. So which would be the answer? Is it 1 and 2 only? Is it 1 and 3 only? Is it 2 and 3 only? Or is it 1, 2, and 3? So we know it involves all the above, the things that are mentioned here. So it would be D, 1, 2, and 3. Let's move on to question number 31. Which of the following can be used as a reminder system in an organization? 1. Appointment books. 2. Tickler files. 3. Diaries. So is it A1 only? Is it B1 and 2 only? Is it C1 and 3 only? Or is it D1, 2, and 3? It is D, all that is mentioned above, 1, 2, and 3. So let's move on to question number 32. Your employer wishes to hold a meeting in the staff room on 18th of June at 8 a.m. Which of the following documents should be prepared and distributed prior to the meeting? A. Motion. B. Recommendations. C. Notice and agenda. Or D. Apologies for absence. We know it would be notice and agenda. So our answer would be C. Okay. So here we go on to question number 33 of a digital clock, 24-hour digital clock. So we see 1500 hours displayed. So it says the time displayed on the clock above is A, 3 a.m., B, 3 p.m., 5 a.m., or D, 5 p.m. So we know it would be 3 p.m. Let's move on to 34. A clerk was asked to make 900 copies of a document. The minimum quantity of paper she should request to complete the task is A, 2 reams, B, 2 quarts, C, 3 quarts, or D, 3 reams. We know it would be A, 2 reams, because we know that 1 reams consists of 500 copies. So you would need 2 reams. All right, let's go on to 35. What is the correct order in which the following headings should appear in the minutes of a meeting? 1. Minutes of last meeting. 2. Apologies for absence. 3. Matters arising from minutes. So what's the order they would be? We know first it is the apologies for absent. Then we have the minutes of the last meeting. And then we discuss matters arising from minutes. So the order would be 2, 1, then 3. So our answer would be C. Let's move on to number 36. One of the most important functions of the Human Resource Department is A. Introducing new employees, B. receiving visitors to the firm, C, ensuring proper communication, or D, attending to the welfare of employees. Most important function. We know the human resource takes care of the welfare of the employees. So it would be D. Let's move on to number 37. In which of the following situations is cross-referencing not needed? A, the name of a supplier is changed. B, a female customer has a name changed through marriage. C, a piece of correspondence relates to more than one name. D, a document is to be placed under a special name for ease retrieval. Obviously, we know it would be D, right? We put it under the document under a special name for ease retrieval. Let's move on to question number 38. An executive is on a business trip in another Caribbean territory and urgently requires additional money. The best way to send money to him or her is by A, electronic money transfer, B, international bank draft, C, credit transfer, or D, debit transfer. We know it's electronic. It's instantly the fastest, right, way of sending money. So the answer would be A. So that's how persons, send money through MoneyGram or Western Union instantly. Let's move on to question number 39. The term imprest refers to A, a special sum in the bank, B, money set aside for petty cash purposes, C, a fixed amount of money budgeted by a cabinet, or D, a fixed amount of money used for bulk purchases. So our answer would be B, imprest refers to money set aside for petty cash purposes. Let's move on to question number 40. The science of fitting the workplace to meet the needs of employees is known as, that's a giveaway, ergonomics. So the answer would be A. Let's move on to question number 41. Which of the following would have a major effect on labor turnover? A, appraisal report, B, staff development, C, working conditions, or D, terms of employment. Our answer would be C, working conditions. Let's move on to question number 42. All right, so here we have our document. It gives us the position that is being advertised for, the work, what it includes, the qualification, the knowledge and skills. So 42 says, the document above is best described as a job, A, description, B, specification, C, performance, or D, advertisement. It's quite obvious that it's a job advertisement. So the answer would be D. Which of the following, let's move on to 43. Which of the following best describes the purpose of the petty cash fund? A, to reduce clerical work. B, to store cash efficiently. C, for prevention of theft by employees. Or D, for making small payments conveniently. So our answer would be D, as the purpose of the petty cash, making small payments convenient. Let's move to question number 44. In a cash book, all monies received are indicated as A, deposit, B, deduction, C, credit entry, or D, debit entry. No, it would be debit entry in the cash book. Let's move on to number 45. What is the term given to describe a check dated ahead of time? A, crossed, B, certified, C, post dated, or D, stale dated. We know it would be post dated. Let's move on to 46. What is the first step that a businessman should take if his cash book and bank statement show a difference of $20. A. Reconcile his bank statement with his cash book. B. Regard the $20 as interest on his current account. C. Inform the bank that an error has been made in his account. Or D. Write a check for $20 to balance his statement with the bank. We know it's not with the bank. So he would have to reconcile, check his bank statement and his cash book to see what has happened and where that $20 difference, where it is, so to speak. So the answer would be A. Reconcile his bank statement with his cash book. It's not the bank fault, right? So let's go on to question number 47. So here we have a check. So it says the person, Mr. Bruce All, to whom the check is made out, is called the payee, B, payer, C, banker, or D, acceptee. So Mr. Bruce All, it is made out to the payee. So it's the payee. Let's move on to number 48. The Human Resource Clerk has been asked to review a list of job applicants and to select those who meet the necessary requirements for a job. This process is referred to as A, elimination, B, shortlisting, C, downsizing, or D, interviewing. So we know our answer would be B, shortlisting. Let's move on to question number 49. At the beginning of the year, a firm employs 50 persons. During the year, 10 of these persons leave the firm. Which of the following represents the labor turnover? A, 5%, B, 10%, C, 20%, or D, 25%. We know our answer would be C, 20%. All right, let's move on to question number 50. The use of a perpetual inventory system in a large department store enables A, goods that were purchased first to be sold, B, goods that were purchased last to be sold first, C, the sale of goods on a person-to-person basis, or D, the calculation of stock levels and the values at specific intervals. So we know it would be D. The inventory system would enable the calculation of stock levels and values at specific intervals. Let's move on to question number 51. So item 51 refers to the following information on the movement of stock. So we're given the months, we see the stocks and how much they cost. All right, so let's move on to question 51. What is the cost of the closing stock at the end of May using the FIFO method? So we know FIFO, first in, first out. All right, so we know at the ending of May, 20 stock was issued, right? So we know. So what we do right there, so we know that we multiply the 20 multiplied by 15, and that would give us 300. So our answer would be A. Okay, let's move on to question number 52 to 53. We have a purchase order. All right, so we have, most important, we're looking at the key details. 2 boxes of padded envelopes at $30, 6 boxes of manila envelopes at $17.50 each, 1 box of white envelopes at $12, and 2 packs of envelopes at $1.50. And we get the size of it, right? So it says, what is the total cost of items before the discount is given? So the first thing, what would you have to do? So you are going to have to multiply 2 by 30, and you're going to get $60. Then you're going to multiply 6 by $17.50. You should get $105. 1 multiplied by 12, which is $12. And 2 multiplied by $1.50 is $3. So when you add $60 plus $105 plus $12 plus $3, you should get, your answer should be D, $180. That would be your answer. Let's move on to question number 53. What will be the total cost to be paid by the customer after the discount? All right. So they say, back to the diagram, they say it's the total cost before discount is 10%. So what you're going to do, you're going to find 10% of $180. You're going to get $18. And what you will have to do is subtract the $18 from the $180, and you would get $162. So your answer would be A. Let's move on to question number 54. Which of the following means of communication is the most efficient way of receiving timely feedback from 100 members of staff about new rules regarding the use of office telephones? A. Staff meeting. B. Individual letters. C. Notice on the bulletin board. Or D. Memorandum sent by email. Our answer would be C. Notice on the bulletin board. Let's move on to question number 55 to 57. So here we have our document. It says the document above is an example of we have A, job card, B, time card, C, record card, or D, job cost card. We know it is a job card because why we know? We see the materials, it tells us the time required to complete the job, the type of job, the materials that was involved, and the labor cost, right? So we know that's a job card. Now it says, what is the 20% overhead charge? 20% overhead charge. Okay, let's go back. So we notice the fabric is $600, the sponge is $250, the thread is $60, and we have the stitcher, right, which is $200. When you add all of that together, you get 1,110. And it says now you are going to find 20% of that. So 1,110 multiplied by 20% of that, you are going to get $222. So your answer is C. Let's move on to question number 57. It says the total cost of the job is, no, in order for you to find the total cost of the job, you would have to use your original cost that we found in question number when we had add all the overhead costs. We got 1,110. So now you would have to now add the overhead charge to that. So you're going to add 1,110 plus $222. So you should get $1,332. So your answer would be D. Let's move on to question number 58. An unsolicited letter of application may be written when A, a company advertises for a vacancy, B, a company's application form is made available, or C, an application is sent inquiring about a vacancy, or D, an application is sent in response to an advertisement. So we know it would be C. It's an unsolicited letter, right? So an application is sent inquiring about a vacancy. Let's move on to question number 59. Which document used in shipping in both a contract for a carriage and a document of tax? So we know it's a bill of lading, right? So it's not A, airway bill, it's not C, customs form, it's not D, an export license. So our answer would be B, bill of lading. Item number 56 refers to the following clock card, which shows the times of arrival and departure for an employee. Note, the clock card makes no provision for a lunch hour from Monday to Friday. All right. So from Monday, the person went to work 7:30. They left 4:30. Tuesday 7:30. They left 6:30. Went in Wednesday 8 o'clock. Left 6:30. Went in 7:30 Thursday and left 4:30. Went 7:30 on Friday and left 4:30. And then on Saturday, he went in at 8 and left at 1:30. Now, when you check the amount of hours that he went in on Monday, 7:30 to 4:30, that's 9 hours. Tuesday, 7:30 to 6:30, that's 11 hours. Wednesday, 8:30 to 6:30, that's 10 and a half hours. Thursday, 7:30 to 4:30, it's 9 hours. Then Friday again, he did another 9 hours. And then on Saturday, he did 5.5 hours. So when you add all those hours, 9 plus 11 plus 10.5 plus 9 plus 9 plus 5.5, you should get 54 hours. So your answer would be C. So that's it, guys. We have completed the CSEC Office Administration June 2019 Paper 1 question and answers. So please go over these again, watch the video again and again, because CXC just pull questions from different past paper and just put them together again. So you'll see these questions repetitively. So don't forget you to like, share, and subscribe to this video. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so that whenever a video is being uploaded, you are instantly aware of it so that you can go and watch it to keep updated. So, okay, until then, guys, take good care and keep watching these videos.